Well, our next guest says the biggest challenge in the Middle East in 1,000 years is upon us. GOP Senator Lindsey Graham joins us by phone. Senator, no one has to chronicle for you how what Iran has done to us since 1979 and why Operation Epic Fury had to happen.
Yeah.
You're feeling today, and as the operation unfolds with your military background, are you pleased with the objectives?
My feeling today is that I'm very glad that President Trump won and Kamala Harris lost. I don't try to be political at moments like this, but I'm responding to the senator from Arizona who took a shot at this operation. Yep. Unfortunately, the modern Democratic Party is pathetic in the face of evil. Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, they embrace deals that make no sense. The difference between Donald Trump and our Democratic colleagues, he's common sense. He understands the world. I've been talking to him continuously for days and weeks. He's of the mindset that the Ayatollah is Hitler in a robe wearing a turban, that he's not capable of changing his ways. He reached out to him to test to see if he would. Donald Trump does not get us entangled in forever wars, but he sure as hell stands up to the bad guys and he makes us safer. This is the most consequential decision any president's made since 1979 because of President Trump's understanding of the evil nature of this regime. He has set in motion its demise. This military operation is overwhelming. It will bring this regime down. President Trump called on the Iranian people to seize the moment. I believe they will. What's going to happen is that the regime will lose power gradually throughout the country. There'll be cities that fall to the people. The regime will get isolated. To the military leaders in Iran, we're watching everything you do. President Trump said, lay down your arms. Those that do will be rewarded. Those that fight for the Ayatollah, you will pay a heavy price. I hope the Ayatollah is captured or killed. He's a miserable human being. He's Hitler in a robe. He has killed over 30,000 of his own people to maintain power. He is a religious Nazi. He wants to kill all the Jews. He wants to purify Islam, and he wants to come after us. And if you don't believe that, you're crazy. Hitler wrote a book. He wanted to kill all the Jews. Nobody believed him. And 50 million people later, it was too late. Right. Donald Trump is a different cat. President Trump is a man of peace, but he's a man not to be trifled with. What I think will happen, I think over time this regime will fall. And let me tell you what's going to replace it. You're going to have people in Iran who love America, love Trump, and like Lindsey Graham, and they're going to be our allies. It's going to be messy, but here's the big picture. With the fall of the largest state sponsor of terrorism, the pathway to peace and prosperity in the Mideast is going to be wide, and it's going to be long, and it's going to be a 1,000-year moment here. What will happen next if the regime falls? I think Saudi Arabia, the keeper of the Holy Mosque in Mecca and Medina, the center of Islam, will go back to the table to try to do peace with Israel. We were close before October the 7th. October the 7th was designed to stop normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel. I think when this regime collapses, it will. We'll be back at the table of normalization. If Saudi Arabia recognizes Israel, it will be the biggest change in 1,000 years in the history of the Mideast. If this regime falls, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, terrorist networks supported by Iran, will collapse slowly but surely. The mothership of terrorism is about to go down. There's a new dawn coming in the Mideast. There's an opportunity for the region to build on the Abraham Accords started in President Trump's first term. This is the most significant thing that's happened in my lifetime. It's the most significant thing that's happened in the Mideast in 1,000 years. The gold standard for Republican foreign policy is no longer Ronald Reagan. It is Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump has liberated our backyard by taking Venezuela down, a narco-terrorist state. Cuba is now isolated because the mothership of Venezuela has fallen. He's gone after terrorist leaders, one after another. He is now on the verge of taking down the largest state sponsor of terrorism that's haunted America since 1979, American blood on his hands. And this is due to the resolve of President Trump and understanding who he's dealing with. President Trump understood that he you really didn't have a good partner for peace. The Ayatollah is not interested in deals. He's interested in destruction. He has a religious Nazi view of the world. Hitler wanted a master race, the Aryan race, to rule the world. The Ayatollah wants his version of Islam to rule Islam and the world. Donald Trump got it. He did it, and it's in motion now. God bless President Trump. To all of our troops out there, I'm thinking about you. I'm praying for you. If you get hurt, you fall into this endeavor, this enterprise called Epic Fury, you will have sacrifice would have been for a noble cause. This is why you serve. To the American people, get behind this operation. We're about to liberate Iran, which will set in motion peace and prosperity no one could even envision as recently as a year ago. This is a big friggin' deal.
All right, Senator, I want to take you back for a second because you were talking about Saudi Arabia and how they're going to respond to this. What about the other Arab world, the UAE,
they're gonna
Jordan? Are they supporting this president's actions right now?
Absolutely, Lawrence. Great question. Where was I at last week? I was in Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the United Arab Emirates, trying to get Saudi and the UAE to knock off their dispute about Yemen and Sudan. I'm trying to do that. But I talked to MBS. I said, don't miscalculate here. Donald Trump is a man of his word. Help is on the way. Remember that? I never doubted him. It took a while to get the help there. But as of this moment, I can tell the entire world that when Donald Trump says something, he means it. Help is on the way. To the Iranian people, take advantage of the moment given to you by President Trump. To Saudi Arabia, MBS told me if this regime goes down, it opens up a new Mideast, and he's ready to go. He's ready to reengage. I'm going to go back soon, and I'm going to work with the administration to reengage and start normalization talks between Israel and Saudi Arabia. What does that mean for you at home? If Saudi Arabia, the most significant country in Islam, would recognize the one and only Jewish state, that is a blow to terrorism worse than any bomb. It's the biggest change in 1,000 years. It reshapes the entire Mideast, and we're on the verge of it happening. And why? Because of the resolve of President Donald J. Trump and our military.
All right. Thanks so much, Senator. Appreciate the perspective.
Thank you, Senator Graham.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.